So I just wrapped up week 2 on Mounjaro, and I did notice a difference from week 1. Now in week 1, I did lose 4 pounds, and I really didn't have any major side effects that other people have reported. Um, and it wasn't until late in week 2 that I started noticing my hunger coming back. It really wasn't until I would say the end of day 6, and definitely on day 7. I take my injections on Sunday, so on Saturday the hunger wasn't suppressed at all. I felt like normal. Um, so with that, I think it's kind of understand how this drug works and like how it stays in your body. It's not something you're taking every day. So Mounjaro has a 5-day half-life. As I mentioned in the previous video, a half-life is the amount of time in which it takes for a product to degrade to 50% of its original content. So in this case, we're looking at, I'm at a 2.5 milligram injection right now. So it takes 5 days for that to break down to it's only 1.25 milligrams in my system. So I made a graphic for us to look at. So I'm going to put that on the other side of the screen right now. So those of you who have studied kinetics, I went very simplified on this. I went with what's called the first order kinetic reaction. And again, I know this is an oversimplification for all the complex biochemistry that's happening here, but I think this is going to be good enough to explain maybe what you're feeling in your body. I know I think it kind of represents what I'm feeling. So in my experience, it takes about 1 day for the Mounjaro to really kick in. So again, I take my injections on Sunday. It isn't until about Monday afternoon that I'm feeling the suppression kick in. And really by day 6 and 7, the first 2 weeks, that's when the hunger has come back. So I think if you pay attention to your hunger cues, you can kind of see where the dosage is at. Again, just if you assume this graphic more or less follows the actual curve of what it's doing in your body. So to kind of simplify it, I put a red line right at the halfway point for each dosage. And again, I noticed once the day is approaching that red line, especially for the first 4 weeks that we're sticking at that point, that's when my hunger starts kicking in on. So I think if I can maintain a dosage above that, let's say 1.5 or even 2, then I will have sustained appetite suppression at that point. Now, starting week 5, I am scheduled to move up, or weeks 5 through 8 rather, I'm scheduled to move up to a 5 milligram dosage. So that's the next level up from where I'm currently at. So those will be, that's kind of represented on the curve for days 29 through 56. And you'll see that the baseline, the bottom of that curve, is always going to be just around 2.5. So I definitely think weeks 5 through 8, I will see a more maintained hunger level, and that it's going to be suppressed all 7 days. It'll be interesting to see how the higher dosage earlier in the week of that brings on some negative side effects. Maybe that's what the other people have. But the reason I like looking at this is that it'll help me have conversations, more informed conversations with my doctor. If I'm able to tell her, hey, look, after 2 weeks on this 5 milligram dosage, I was feeling terrible. Okay, what day? How really day 2, 3, 4 of the dosage, I was feeling really bad. We kind of see where that's at, and then maybe from there we have to kind of play around to maybe it's spacing them out a little bit longer, so that the end of the dosage before I respike it up is a little bit lower. So I don't know. I think in tracking that, just how I feel on it in respect to that curve, will give me some insights on how best to handle this and have the conversations with my doctor moving forward. Yeah, week 2 wrapped up pretty. What's the word? Not insignificant, because I did lose 4 pounds, so that's that's a good thing, right? But uneventful. That's the word I was looking for. So again, not having the major side effects I was like, you know what? Now it's time I can start stacking in other things to what I'm doing here. So I talked to my buddy JP. We had made a video a while back, but he is back to personal training and works as a health coach. And so I talked to him as, hey man, I need your help again. I had lost with him when we were working out. He was my personal trainer. Over a year and a half, we lost 50 pounds together. He coached me through that, and he's super stoked that he thinks this could be a very useful tool. But the one thing he emphasized is that if you're on Ozempic or Mounjaro, that you have to lift weights. And here's the analogy he gave me. He said, view your muscle mass as if that's like a big work truck, right? And view your fat as a daily commuter, like a little Toyota Corolla, right? 40 miles per gallon, something you just drive to and from work. It's not the date night car. It's not your work car per se. It's just, get your grocery getter. And let's say you get to a point where you're broke, right? This is, we're a caloric deficit. We're calorically poor right now with the influx of cash or calories in this example. Now, if you're not using that big work truck, you're not using your lean body mass, your body's gonna say, hey, like why do we maintain this big payment on this? The fat's already paid for, the little sedan's already paid for. Let's sell the truck, so we don't have to worry about the payment that requires to maintain, and we'll get rid of that. Whereas if you are using that truck, if you are working out, you are lifting weights, you're in a protocol for that, your body's saying, hey, we can't get rid of the work truck because we're using the work truck, right? We're using the work truck a lot. So yeah, even though that sedan's nice, it's paid for, let's get rid of that, because we can still we want to use our calories, our money to get the work truck, because that's also bringing in that's helping the bottom line. I guess that's the way of looking at it. So you don't want to sell that work truck. You don't want to lose your lean mass while you're doing this. And again, these medications, they're not some miracle fat burner. I think that's what some people will oversimplify it, but you have to understand it's helping you stay and maintain a caloric deficit. It's helping you eat less. There's also some other things happening. I've watched a number of podcasts where they're talking about different psychological components and where it can help you with other bad habits, getting rid of them. But the straightforward application is to help you with appetite suppression. So when you're losing weight, when you're on the way down, if you're working out and if you're to take a very steady approach and concise approach, the best you could realistically hope for, like these, again, we could possibly do better than this, but realistically, if you're doing a good job maintaining your calories and looking at what you're eating and working out, you could typically expect a 4-to-1 weight loss, 4 pounds of fat per every pound of lean mass that you're losing. Not necessarily muscle, but lean mass, which is a broader category. It includes muscle, but other items as well. And in watching and doing my own research on this, something that really scared me about a year ago is when I was watching stuff. A lot of people were saying, oh, there's so many of the patients are losing so much more. They're losing, rather than just, that 4-to-1 ratio, they're really losing 60 to 70% of the weight loss is from lean mass, which is troubling. Especially if you consider that when people get off these medications, that's when they typically regain it, because maybe they were eating less, but they weren't eating, what they were eating was still junk. They didn't put in those, they weren't working out, they weren't maintaining their body mass, so their overall metabolic baseline level, like that, plummeted. So when they get off the medications, a lot of them tend to gain the weight back. So let's take the example of a 200-pound person who loses 20 pounds. Let's say 12 pounds of that was lean mass and 8 pounds of it was fat. But then after a year later, they've regained the weight and they're back at 200 again. So you might say on paper, hey, they're at the same weight, no harm, no foul. They're at exactly where they started at. But if you look at it from a composition perspective, even though they're the same weight, they have 6% more fat than what they had originally. And that's where I think the concern with people, that I get from people, from other experts online, and like what JP has expressed to me, is that that's why you want to make sure you're working out, lifting weights. You're not losing that work truck, right? So I know it's a luxury to have a fitness coach, or to be able to hire a personal trainer, to have someone in your life like a JP who can help you out with this. But I think if you have that friend who, you're like, man, I have this buddy, they're always working out, I really think they could help me through this. They could help me put a basic plan together, or reach out, make a plan. Again, but I think once you understand how you feel on just the medication. So again, I'm starting this with the onset with week 3. And me and JP have made a plan, and right now he is looking to add clients. So if that's something you're interested into, drop a comment. He does online coaching. You can look at what you're eating. And again, that's going to be up to you to report it to him, but he'll give you a workout plan based off what your abilities are, and you can move forward with him on that. But what I'm doing with him, he has me working out 3 days a week, lifting weights. And then here's the other thing. Before, when I was working with him, he's like, oh yeah, I hit 10,000 steps. All right, cool. Like just normal work stuff, I usually get 4,000 or 5,000 in, right? So okay, take the dogs on a walk, and a little bit more in the evenings. But he put in a little caveat this time, that it's 10,000 additional steps. Additional, which, man, the days that I'm already doing a bunch of walking where I hit 6K, just, going back and forth in the labs, having to come home and get those 10,000 steps in is a bit of a chore. At the time of recording this, I can tell you it's been a little tough. And in addition to those two things, so working out 3 days a week, 10,000 additional steps, I'm also tracking, making a food log. And that's something, I have it on a shared document with him, so he can kind of check in. And I'm just waiting for the text to be like, really, man? Really? You had to get that chicken bake from Costco? I got a chicken bake earlier in the week, and he definitely called me out on that. But yeah, for week 2, guys, to wrap this up, I'm down another 4 pounds, which brings the 2-week total to 8 pounds. Blood pressure is maintained right where it was at the start of this. It's came in at 132/82, which again, that's kind of where my blood pressure lives for the most part. And big changes moving on in week 3. And I guess you're gonna have to come back and get the update for that in about a week from now. So there you have it, guys. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Bye.